Have you ever heard the words of Jesus in Matthew 6:33? Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Maybe you've heard that verse many times. You've heard it in church. You've heard it during a sermon. You've heard someone quote it when you were worried about your future. Seek first the kingdom of God. And maybe you did. You went to church. You prayed. You fasted. You worshiped. You asked God to change your circumstances. But then you looked at your life and somehow nothing seemed to be changing. In fact, some things seemed to be getting worse. The bills were still there. The opportunities still weren't coming. The relationship was still broken. The dream still seemed far away. And after praying again and again, perhaps a question quietly entered your mind. God, where are you? Why am I doing everything I know to do, and yet my life still looks the same? And then something even more difficult can happen. You begin to question your faith. Maybe you wonder whether you're praying correctly. Maybe you wonder whether God has forgotten you. Maybe you look at someone else's life and ask yourself, why does everything seem to be working for them, but not for me? But there is another passage in the Bible that invites us to look at this question from a completely different direction. In Luke 17:20 to 21, the Pharisees asked Jesus when the kingdom of God would come. Jesus explained that the kingdom would not arrive in a way that people could simply point to and say, "Here it is," or "There it is." And then he said, "The kingdom of God is within you." Think about that. Matthew 6:33 says, "Seek first the kingdom of God." And Luke 17:21 says, "The kingdom of God is within you." So what if seeking is not always about looking farther away? What if, before constantly searching for another door to open, another person to save you, or another opportunity to change your life, you also need to learn how to look within, not instead of God, but with God? Because perhaps there are things inside you that you have never stopped long enough to discover. Have you ever actually sat down in silence and examined yourself? Not judged yourself? Not criticized yourself? Not compared yourself with somebody else? But truly examined yourself. What are you good at? What comes naturally to you? What abilities have you been ignoring? What ideas keep returning to your mind? What have you learned through your struggles? What kind of person are you becoming? And perhaps one of the most important questions is, why don't you trust yourself? Maybe you've spent so much time looking outside yourself for confirmation that you've forgotten to recognize what God may have already placed within you. You keep asking, where is my opportunity? But perhaps you should also ask, what am I capable of becoming? You keep asking, when will someone believe in me? But perhaps the question is, why have I stopped believing in what I can become? And you keep asking, God, when will you change my life? But perhaps there is another question worth asking. God, what have you already placed within me that I have not yet developed? Because sometimes the answer to where you're going begins with discovering who you are. The goal is not simply to dream about success. The goal is to become the person capable of carrying the success you're asking for. There may be potential inside you that has never been disciplined. There may be an ability inside you that has never been developed. There may be an idea inside you that has never been acted upon. There may be courage inside you that fear has kept hidden. And there may be a purpose inside you that distraction has prevented you from hearing. Perhaps this is why your journey requires more than simply asking God for something. Perhaps it also requires you to become still enough to recognize what He is developing in you. Because sometimes the greatest transformation does not begin when your circumstances change. It begins when your understanding changes, when you stop seeing yourself only as someone waiting for something to happen and begin seeing yourself as someone who has been given something to develop. But there comes a moment when looking within is no longer enough. You have to move. You have to take the step. Maybe you've been saying, one day I'll do it. One day I'll make the video. One day I'll start the business. One day I'll apply for that job. One day I'll go for the interview. One day I'll finally pursue the idea that has been sitting in my mind for years. But how many one days have already passed? How many ideas have you buried because you were afraid they wouldn't work? How many opportunities have you rejected before you even gave yourself the chance to try? How many times have you told yourself, I'm not ready? But maybe you don't need to feel completely ready. Maybe you need to take the first step, take the bold step, make the video, start the business, send the application, go for the interview, learn the skill, make the phone call, write the first page, build the first version, put your work in front of people, trust yourself enough to try, and trust God enough to understand that taking action does not mean you are abandoning your faith. Sometimes faith is expressed through movement. James 2:17 reminds us that faith without works is dead. Faith is not merely something you feel. Faith eventually asks something of you, a step, a decision, an action. You can pray for the door to open, but you still have to be willing to walk through it. You can pray for an opportunity, but you still have to prepare yourself for it. You can ask God for success, but you still have to develop the ability to carry it. And perhaps this is where many people become stuck. They're waiting for a sign while ignoring the ability already in their hands. They're waiting for perfect circumstances, perfect confidence, perfect timing, perfect finances, perfect conditions. But life rarely gives you all of those things at once. Sometimes you begin with what you have, where you are, with the knowledge you currently possess, and you grow as you move. Perhaps your preparation is happening right now. Perhaps the season you think is insignificant is actually developing something you will need later. The small business you're building, the videos nobody is watching yet, the applications you keep sending, the skills you're learning, the mistakes you're making, the discipline you're developing, none of it has to be wasted. But you have to begin, because sometimes we ask God to reveal our purpose while refusing to experiment. How will you know what you're capable of if you never attempt anything? How will you discover your gift if you never use it? How will you know whether that idea can become something if you never give it a chance? You don't need to know the entire road. You only need enough courage to take the next step. And perhaps that is what you've been missing. Not another sign, not another motivational speech, not another month of waiting. A step, one decision that says, I will stop hiding from what I know I can do. I will stop allowing fear to make my decisions. I will stop waiting for everyone else to believe in me before I believe in what God has placed within me. And understand this, taking the step does not guarantee that everything will immediately work. You may fail. The interview may not lead to the job. The business may struggle. The first video may receive almost no views. The idea may need to change. You may make mistakes. But failure is not always evidence that you chose the wrong path. Sometimes failure is information. Sometimes rejection redirects you. Sometimes a closed door teaches you something you could never have learned while standing still. And sometimes the first attempt exists simply to teach you how to make the second attempt better. So don't demand certainty before you move. Move, learn, adjust, and keep going, because the person you're praying to become may be developed through the very process you're afraid to begin. And this brings us to something even deeper. The world needs what is within you. There is something you carry that someone else may need. Your talent could encourage someone. Your knowledge could solve someone's problem. Your creativity could inspire someone. Your experience could give someone hope. You may be thinking about starting a small business, but fear keeps speaking to you. I can't make it. What if I fail? Someone else is already doing this. Someone else is better than me. But stop looking only at the negative side. Ask yourself a different question. What if this is something I am meant to bring into the world? Yes, someone else may already be doing something similar, but they are not you. They don't have your experiences. They don't think exactly the way you think. They don't have your story, your perspective, your creativity, or your particular way of solving a problem. There is room for your contribution, and perhaps the purpose of your talent is not only to make you successful, perhaps it is also to make you useful. Think about that. What if your success becomes someone else's opportunity? What if the business you're afraid to start eventually gives another person a job? What if the skill you're afraid to share eventually helps someone who desperately needs it? What if the message you're afraid to speak gives hope to someone who is ready to give up? What if the idea you keep hiding could become the answer to a problem someone else has been struggling with? The world needs people who are willing to bring what is within them into reality. So don't spend all your energy worrying about whether you will succeed. Focus on building yourself. Learn, practice, study, develop your discipline, strengthen your character, improve your skills, become better at what you do, because talent alone is not enough. It has to be developed. It has to be sharpened. It has to be exercised. It has to be brought into the world. And sometimes, the reason you haven't discovered your full potential is because you haven't given yourself enough opportunities to use it. So start looking inward. Ask yourself, what has God placed within me? What am I naturally drawn toward? What problems do I notice that other people ignore? What ideas keep coming back to me? What can I do that could make someone else's life better? And from today, begin changing the way you speak to yourself. Stop telling yourself, I can't, I'll never succeed, I'm not good enough, someone else is better. Instead, speak words of life over yourself. I can learn, I can improve, I can begin, I can become better, I can use what I have, I can make a difference. See the brighter day ahead, not because everything will magically become easy, but because you have decided that difficulty will not be the end of your story. Your future needs your participation. Your ideas need your courage. Your talent needs your discipline. And someone, somewhere, may be waiting for the thing you've been afraid to release. There are ideas inside you that nobody has ever mentioned. There are solutions inside you that nobody has discovered. There are words inside you that someone needs to hear. Bring them out. Don't bury them. Don't let laziness bury what discipline could develop. Don't let fear bury what courage could release. Don't let comparison bury what makes you unique. Keep pushing forward. And when you imagine your goal, don't only imagine the moment you finally achieve it. Imagine yourself becoming the person capable of achieving it. See yourself learning. See yourself working. See yourself growing. See yourself serving. See yourself becoming disciplined. See yourself walking confidently toward the future you desire. Then bring that vision into your daily life through your actions, because a vision without action remains a dream. But a vision combined with faith, discipline, patience, and consistent action can become a completely different life. And if you believe that God has placed something within you, don't treat it as something insignificant. Nurture it, develop it, use it. Let it become useful to the people around you, because perhaps what you've been searching for outside yourself has been waiting to be developed within you all along. The world does not need another copy of someone else. It needs what only you can bring. Your particular gift, your particular voice, your particular perspective, your particular contribution. So don't give up. Push forward. Keep learning. Keep building. Keep becoming. And remember what Jesus said in Matthew 6:33. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. So seek, discover, develop, act, serve, and become. Not because you are trying to control everything that happens in your life, but because you are choosing to faithfully develop what has been entrusted to you. Perhaps the answer is not that you have nothing. Perhaps you simply haven't yet discovered what you already have. The world needs you. Someone needs your gift. Someone needs your courage. Someone needs your idea. Someone may need the result of the work you're afraid to begin. So bring what is within you into the world. Take the step. Keep learning. Keep building. Keep moving forward. And trust God with the results. Because what God has placed within you was never meant to remain hidden. It was meant to grow. It was meant to be developed. It was meant to serve. And perhaps through it, you will discover that the life you've been seeking begins with what you choose to do with what has already been placed within you. The kingdom is within you. Now go and discover what is there.